Hey everybody, this is Minion Soldier, and this is the Piracy Show. One of the things that is going to be evolving in the future of Star Citizen is, of course, these kind of, ground attack missions, these on-foot FPS action missions that we get. We're going to start to see NPCs at the outside of these installations, not just packed away on the inside, which I'm sure the sniper rifle enthusiasts will be all over, myself included. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I enjoy this type of gameplay. I really do enjoy this type of FPS gameplay. And recently I was enjoying it in Cyberpunk quite a bit. But there was one thing that when I was playing Cyberpunk, I was just kind of sitting there, and I'm sure that a lot of people will say, well, Cyberpunk didn't arrive in the best state, but I was actually shocked, completely shocked that there was one feature in Cyberpunk that was utterly missing. And that is the fact that, you're in a city, it can be day, it can be night, there could be various things going around obscuring your vision, that there were, of all the cyberware that you could install on your character, there was nothing to allow for night vision or heat vision, infrared. There was no option for that I could find. Now, of course, the game does give you various other tools like the ping quick hack and things like that to mark all the targets in an area. But I still, I just thought it was so odd that it didn't exist in the game, and that it seemed like such an obvious thing that you would go to, a Ripper dock, and you could just buy a set of eyes that allowed for thermal vision. I mean, one of the first missions that you do when you go off on that first heist, you see through the eyes of a character that has thermal implants, and yet you as a character seemingly never have access to these same thermal implants, as useful as they would be. And so it kind of blew my mind that we didn't have access to that. And, kind of coming back to Star Citizen and raiding a few bunkers for fun, I have to say that I'm kind of surprised that Star Citizen has seemingly done nothing in this area as well. And I feel that, in a number of ways, it's a huge misstep. Like, visual acuity in Star Citizen in general, and some of the things that kind of happen, whether it's the sun shining through your cockpit and washing everything out and making it harder to see asteroids or stuff like that. I mean, these things are, kind of like very real problems in Star Citizen right now, but it seems like no one's kind of taking any steps or looking at these issues and saying, oh no, we need to do something here. It's almost like this is kind of a blind spot for SC's game development, especially when we're talking about adding in new FPS game modes like Theaters of War. We still haven't talked about giving players night vision or thermal vision, which to me, I mean, especially considering the age that we inhabit in Star Citizen, which is, basically, the better part of 1,000 years from now, that we as, a civilization have seemingly forgotten how to use this technology when it's cheap and completely off the shelf. Now, here I am out walking at night, after leaving the bunker, and, I'm still reliant on this, this light mounted on my helmet shining ahead of me to show me which way to go. Now, there's a lot of great things in Star Citizen when you watch your character walking around with the gun. They're holding the gun in a relatively appropriate manner. I'm sure that some people could nitpick it, but generally it looks pretty all right. Your character is looking right down the gun, as they should be. And, when you look around in different directions, your character moves in different directions. There's a lot of care and a lot of, attention kind of paid to these features. But you also notice that my shining the light around in the dark is massively giving my position away to anybody else who might be observing. And not only that, the illumination from the inside of my helmet, some helmets don't have this problem, but others do, is also telling any enemy player who might be looking at me out there in the dark which way I'm looking. So that, that's two very problematic things, but you need to use this in order to see in the dark. You need to use this to navigate in the dark because we have no fallback position. We don't have any infrared. We don't have anything that takes the ambient light and, kind of magnifies it. We've paid so much attention to a lot of these other details and making sure, so I can see the character's face. And by the way, this is something that CIG doesn't, maybe they don't fully realize this, but this feature, when you're actually looking and you're seeing the character's face in the movie or inside of the helmet, this is something that they took away from movies. This isn't something that they do in real life. This is so you can see the actor's face while they're acting in the movie. That's, this is literally where this comes from. But CIG has kind of taken this, I guess, to assume that this is the way spacesuits are. But it's in fact not true. The technology to overcome these difficulties is commonplace even today. Now, the picture that you're seeing on screen is actually a picture I took with my phone. This is a full moon rising over the water. Right? You can't see a whole lot of detail in this image. You see the moon, you see it reflected in the water, and you see maybe some little hints of clouds, right? But that hardly gives you any idea of what's kind of really going on in the background. Now, maybe you yourself have taken a similar image in the past of, something at night, and then you get an image back on your phone like this, and you think, that's not how it looked to the human eye. But the truth of it is that with, some of the latest generations of phones, and probably the phone that's in your pocket or sitting on your desk right now, maybe even the phone that you're watching this video with, you actually can take a much better image if you know about a certain feature. Now, this is the same night, this is the same full moon, but it's using the night sight option on my phone, which basically does the software equivalent of holding the camera's aperture open longer so that it can collect more ambient light. It's a software thing because, there's not really a shutter on a camera phone, but you can see a lot more detail. And you can get some very interesting and some very beautiful images this way, especially if you're smart enough to put your phone down on something that stabilizes it while the aperture is open, which I didn't do in this particular instance. But, this technology to amplify ambient light is entirely off-the-shelf technology and probably in the back pocket of a significant portion of the people who are alive today. So how can it be that 1,000 years from now that we don't have access to this technology? I mean, I'm showing you a very specific instance right now where this would be extremely useful. Like this is something that would be very, very handy. And so it kind of blows my mind that we don't have this in Star Citizen. And that the illumination that we do have for these dark environments, it might make for a much more cinematic scene when you're trying to shoot for Squadron 42 or something like that. But you realize from far away just how much of a dead giveaway this is, what we have access to now as to where you are and which way you're looking. I mean, the system that we have right now, it's basically... you're basically telling anybody out there who might be observing you, here I am, come and shoot me right now, and this is the way that I'm looking. Like you're giving your position away, and not only that, giving to a certain degree your status away, which way you're looking. And I mean, this really isn't something that I think that we can kind of continue forward with in Star Citizen. We have to open up the doors to like night vision, and we have to open up the doors to infrared as well. The fact that it's been missing for so long in Star Citizen hasn't really impacted the player base, but when you think about it, when we start actually raiding bases and when these features kind of come into the game, these things are going to become a lot more important. much in the same way that I'm talking about, bringing a ship that allows you to carry different guns or different armor and things like that. This is another thing that really hasn't come to the forefront because we haven't really had to interface with it all that much, but we are kind of stepping into a time when this sort of thing is going to become critical.
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.